All right, let's dive right into day 26 of our Data Science Explainer. Today, we're tackling something that sounds, well, kind of terrifying. The seemingly impossible wall of infinite data. If you've been following along with us, you're probably used to loading up a clean CSV file into pandas, looking at a nice, neat table, or running a standard SQL query. But we've all had that dreaded moment, right? You try to load a file that's just a bit too big, your computer fan spins up like a jet engine, and the whole system just completely crashes. So what on earth do you do when the data literally never stops coming?
Think about this paradox for a second. How do you find the most frequent item in a list of billions, maybe trillions, if your machine can only remember a handful of things at a time? Picture yourself as a router sitting right on the main internet backbone. IP addresses are flying past you at millions of packets per second. You absolutely cannot store them all on a hard drive to sort and count them later. There's just no way. You have to process them exactly as they fly by. How do you keep track of the heavy bandwidth users without your memory just exploding?
Well, here's our roadmap for today. We're going to cover the massive data problem, define a streaming model, look at how to track frequent elements, and then jump into length-squared sampling and sketching large matrices. Let's get to it.
Section 1. The massive data problem. What happens when your data completely outgrows your RAM?
You see, traditional data science kind of treats data like a calm lake. You can safely scoop it up into a bucket of RAM, right? In that model, you have random access. You can go back and forth, iterating over your data as many times as you want to train your models. But massive data? That is a rushing river. The data items arrive sequentially, one at a time. It is a strict read-once scenario with extreme memory limits. If you don't extract the mathematical value right at that exact millisecond, the data flows downstream and is literally gone forever.
All right, Section 2, the streaming model. How we actually compute on the fly.
To survive this river, computer scientists use the streaming model. The golden rule here is that your memory space has to be exponentially smaller than the data itself. If your sequence has a massive length of n and each item has a bit size of b, our algorithm is strictly limited to using memory space that is polynomial to b and merely logarithmic to n. We are talking about operating with a microscopic fraction of the total data size. It's a total game changer.
To actually understand this river, we extract mathematical summaries called frequency moments as the data just flows right by us. The 0th moment calculates the number of distinct elements, like figuring out exactly how many unique credit card accounts made a transaction today without actually storing a single card number. The first moment is simply the total length of the stream. Then you have the second moment, which is incredibly useful for computing variance. Think of detecting sudden anomalies or DDoS attacks in network traffic. And as we push the limit to a large P, we identify the heavy hitters, the most frequent elements.
Section 3. Tracking frequent elements. Time to find those heavy hitters.
Take a look at the dramatic reduction in memory required here. We're going from a massive linear requirement to a tiny logarithmic one. How? By trading absolute precision for a calculated margin of error. If you need to know exactly which element appeared the most, say counting votes in an election, the math proves you need memory proportional to the number of distinct items. But if you can accept just a tiny bit of fuzziness, an additive error margin, we can use randomized approximation to shrink our memory footprint down to almost nothing.
So, here's exactly how we do it. This simple 3-step procedure is called the frequent algorithm, and it's basically a mathematical magic trick. You keep a short list of k items in your very limited memory. When a new item comes in, if it's already on your list, you just add 1 to its score. Easy. If it's new and you have empty space, you add it with a score of 1. But here is the absolute genius part. If your list is full and a totally new item arrives, you just subtract 1 from every single counter on the list. If a counter hits 0, you drop that item entirely. I know, it sounds totally crazy, but this constant, simultaneous decrementing perfectly filters out the low-frequency noise, while ensuring the truly frequent items survive the gauntlet.
And that brings us to the ultimate power of this trade-off. By keeping just k counters, we strictly bound our error. The true frequency of any symbol will always be within an additive error of n divided by k plus 1. You don't get the exact number, sure, but you get a guaranteed mathematically proven window. We've literally just proven that infinite data absolutely does not require infinite memory, provided you know how to leverage clever approximations. Moving right along to Section 4, length-squared sampling. Let's look at smarter matrix approximations.
So what happens when we scale up to massive matrices with millions of rows and columns? Well, blind random sampling, just picking columns uniformly, fails spectacularly, mostly because it grabs way too much relevant noise. Instead, we use something called length-squared sampling. Rather than picking data uniformly at random, we sample columns with a probability that is strictly proportional to their squared lengths. This mathematically guarantees that we prioritize the columns containing the biggest, most important signals.
Now, when this massive matrix is stuck on a slow external hard drive because it's way too huge for your computer's RAM, we use a really clever two-pass approach. In pass 1, the river flows by, and we just compute the running sums of the squared lengths. We keep those tiny numbers in our fast RAM. Then, we essentially roll the dice in our RAM based on those heavily weighted probabilities to choose our targets. Finally, we do a second pass over the data to actually scoop up the specific, highly valuable columns we just selected. Which brings us to Section 5, Sketching Large Matrices, Compressing the River.
A matrix sketch is exactly what it sounds like. It's a highly compressed representation of a massive matrix. Think of a massive document term database mapping billions of web pages to every single word in the English language. You could never hold that whole thing in memory. A sketch is like taking a tiny cup of water from the river that somehow miraculously maintains the exact chemical makeup of the entire rushing stream. By sampling rows and columns using our length squared method, we construct a miniature matrix that behaves almost exactly like the giant one when we run calculations on it. And our ultimate goal here is fully proven by the math. Textbooks confirm that a constant number of rows and columns provides a good two-norm approximation bounded by the Frobenius norm. What does that mean in plain English? Well, the Frobenius norm is essentially the overall volume of the matrice's data. This mathematical guarantee means we can drastically compress a massive database on the fly, store the whole thing in tiny fast memory, and still accurately compute complex similarities, like matching a user's search query to a specific web page, in a fraction of a second.
So, we arrive right back at our opening paradox. Infinite data absolutely does not require infinite memory. It just requires smarter, mathematically rigorous algorithms. By changing our mindset from buckets of static data to rivers of continuous streams, we unlock the ability to process the modern internet. From counting distinct IP addresses to sketching entire massive document databases, approximation really is your greatest weapon. So how will you apply these streaming algorithms to your next massive data set? Keep exploring, keep building, and I'll see you in the next explainer.